Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. And after my previous fake patch note video review got disliked into the dirt, I honestly don't know why I am making this video, but well, I guess I do know why I'm making this video, because I was challenged, and I always accept the challenge. So what happened was that Foi, you guys probably know him. I would assume you guys know him. If you don't, I'll leave a link to his Twitch link below, and YouTube and everything else below for you guys to go check out his channel. But basically, Foi saw the previous patch note come out, the fake one, and was like, hey, that's a good idea. Maybe I should make one too. So he made his own patch notes, and obviously he's got a lot of knowledge in the game. He has a lot of experience in the game and playing upwards of like G3 RTA, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna make my own fake patch note, and then I'm gonna challenge Claytano to make a second fake patch note video and not have everybody want to shoot him. And as you can see in the chats here, that Jubagel clearly has it right as well, that people are gonna want to shoot me anyway, so why not? And so yeah, I'm just gonna go over his patch notes for those of you that are wondering. Also, besides him wanting to see what I can do with it, he doesn't really, reading's not his favorite thing to do, so he also wanted somebody else to do it. So if you're wondering why I'm doing it instead of him, again, he wanted somebody else to go over it, and he picked me. So let's get into it here. So there's a lot of changes. We're gonna just take it one by one, and we'll move through it as quickly and efficiently as possible. All right. So the first one is the light panda. All right. So the previous one was the effect of all attack bar increasing skills of both allies and enemies will be decreased by 50%. Your attack bar will increase by 20% whenever an enemy uses an attack bar increasing skill. The skill will not apply for an opponent that has the same skill or boss skills. Okay, so that's what it was previously. He's changing it a lot. So just the gist of it, without having to read the actual sentence that he has there, is that it doesn't affect your team's attack bar increase. So your team's not getting hindered at all by the passive. It's only the opposing team that's getting hindered, and they're getting hindered by less. So instead of having 50% less, they're only having 30% less attack bar decrease. Okay, and then also the panda itself is only gaining a 10% attack bar boost every time an attack bar increasing skill is used, instead of a 20% attack bar boost. So it's a little nerf, but at the same time, it makes his playability on his team a little bit easier, the other team a little bit easier as well. And it just kind of makes everything easier for everybody, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, the thing that we were talking about back and forth a little bit was that he wasn't sure if he should make it a 35% attack bar decrease or keep it at 30%. I figured since he's completely removing any hindrance to his own team, that that he should keep it at 30% instead of nerfing the enemy team even more and buffing. So it almost would have been like a buff to the light panda, but it's not. So overall, it's not nerfing him to the ground, which is good, but it's still keeping his general playstyle, also not changing him too much, but making him a little bit more balanced throughout the game of Summoner's War. Now, this second one here, we'll move on to the second bullet here. It's Panda Warrior, Light and Water. So it's both Molong and Tianlang, because it's the second skill, Dragon's Dance. So instead of stunning the target, you're basically decreasing the attack speed, right? So attacks all enemies 3 times with each strike, having a 35% chance to remove a beneficial effect and decrease the target's attack speed for 1 turn. Each attack decreases the attack bar by 10% with a 25% chance. This attack will deal more damage according to your max HP. So instead of having a stun, you're decreasing the attack bar, you have a higher chance to remove buffs, and then you're also decreasing the attack speed. So instead of having a stun, you're decreasing the attack speed and decreasing the attack bar. So it's almost like still sort of a stun, but it's just a less hard of a stun. if that makes sense. Which I agree as well, because both the water and the light panda are super overpowered, in my opinion, and they needed some sort of change too. So, boom, done. All right. So moving on though, Panda Warrior, water, Molong, Reckless Assault gets nerfed from 70% to 60%. As much as I don't want to see that, because I have Molong myself, I would agree with that too. 60% is just fine. It's not going to nerf him to the ground. It's still playable, and yada yada yada. Okay. Panda Warrior Wind, decrease inflicted damage by 23% with winds and clouds passive. All right. I mean, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. 23% is a weird number, but hey, 23%. Thanks, Flaw. 23%. Dragon Knight Fire, Noble Blood passive. Basically, just take what you have now and then get a 20% chance to stun instead of, I think previously it was like a 50% chance to stun. So now you have a less chance, but it's still there, but it's not as powerful. So I think that would be, I mean, the stun, removing the stun off Leica was a pretty big hit, not gonna lie. But at the same time, there's still people that use Leica, and he still does a whole lot of damage. But if you guys saw my previous patch video, I don't know if I would rather have this or the one in the previous patch video where it took 35% into 25% total max HP that can be lost at a single time. So this one's a little bit interesting. 20% chance to stun, putting the stun back on Leica. All right. All right. You guys let me know which one you'd rather have between this one or the previous fake buff patch. Okay. All right, so next on the list is the Dragon Knight Dark Ragdoll. And this one, the passive can only activate once per turn. Oh, man, if that's the case, that's a big nerf to Ragdoll. I don't know if I would do that much of a nerf, but that's a pretty big nerf. Again, let me know what you guys think on that one below as well. The here comes the Fairy King nerfs, all right? I feel like all of these are nerfs, but then there's some other buffs. So, all right, so moving on though to Fairy King, Wind and Light Ventilate increases the cooldown by 1 turn. Okay, so same exact thing that we saw in the last patch. Fairy King, Wind, Seal Magic, changes to attacks the enemy with an irresistible attack to put the target's attack skill max cooldown, and sets the attack bar of all enemies to 0 with a 75% chance. So instead of having a 100% chance, you have a 75% chance. I like that little nerf, but not a huge nerf. Still has the same unique skill set, and it's not going to take him completely out of RTA altogether like Tableau was. The Water Fairy King, Rageful Return, decreases inflicted damage by 20%. I skipped one there. All right, so there's the 20%. Fairy King, Water, Dark, and Fire, Overwhelm. Change to attacks all enemies. This attack has a 75% chance to block the beneficial effects for 2 turns. So instead of decreasing the skill cooldown time by 1, you're putting a block beneficial effect for 2 turns, which not a lot of monsters have. So to see it on a Fairy King that would be used a lot could be... It could be an interesting change. It could be an interesting change. I don't think that Fairy King would really suffer too much from it. The Fire one would definitely suffer from it. And not, Fire Fairy King just got nerfed a little bit, which we may need to address as well. But okay, so it doesn't look like it's being addressed in this patch at all. But all right, so moving on though from the Fairy Kings now to the Oracles, the dark one, Gianna. We have attacks all enemies, removing all beneficial effects, 100%, and stunning the enemies with a 40% chance. So instead of having a chance to remove the buffs, it 100% removes the beneficial effects and stuns the enemy only with the 40% chance. It's still a huge skill, but you're changing the play to making her 100% buff remover and then only having a 40% chance to stun, instead of saying that, you know, beneficial effect has been removed for 1 turn and you stun the enemy 100%. Like that's too much. It is too much. But it's not completely nerfing her to the ground. I'd say maybe give her 50% chance, maybe increase it just a little bit. But at the same time, I think, you know, 40, 50, we can go back and forth all day, but overall it's a decent change to talk about as well. So now on to the Juno, right? Everybody's wondering about the Juno buffs. And it looks like it's the same as the previous video that I made. So it removes 1 harmful effect from all allies and all your harmful effects if you start with the turn 2 or more harmful effects. So you only remove 1 harmful effect from your allies instead of the entire team, you know, all harmful effects on the entire team, but you remove everything on yours. And then you have an HP recovered by 10% of your allies by 10% for each removed harmful effect. Okay. I think that's a little better. I don't think that Juno needed that full team cleanse. I think that was a little too much. I think this is more reasonable, to be completely honest. But I still, everybody's kind of been saying that this is the way the skill should work, where she at least cleanses her teammates a little bit as well. Moving on, though, to the Fire Hell Lady, Rocky, we have changed to inflicts great damage with powerful attack and makes the enemies oblivious for 2 turns with each attack. If the target dies, all other enemies will receive the remaining Oblivion effect. Passive skills aren't activated in Oblivion state. So previously it was inflicted great damage with powerful attack with strong enough to destroy souls. The enemy can't be revived. So this kind of looks like the light assassin almost, right? As long as you kill the target dies, everybody else gets Oblivion, right? Attack makes the enemy oblivious for 2 turns with each attack. If the target dies, all other enemies will receive the remaining Oblivion effect. Yep. Cool. Makes sense. So think of Natalie's 3rd skill, put it on Rocky, and then make it Oblivion instead. I think having more Oblivion monsters would be awesome because there's only like 2 in the game right now. And yeah, I agree with that one. I like that. So the Monkey King, Water and Light, all or nothing. Instead of attacks all enemies and decreases their attack bar by 30%, reusable in 4 turns. It attacks all enemies and decreases the attack bar by 25%, increases the attack bar of all allies by 15%, increases the attack speed of all allies for 1 turn. The damage of this skill increases according to your attack speed. That would be an interesting change, and I like that as well. I think that's a legitimate, interesting change. Beast Monks, Water and Dark, defend. So let's see what he did with this. We have decreased the inflicted damage to 0 for 3 turns. When your ally is attacked and receives 50% of the original damage, recovers HP of ally by 20%, instantly recovers a turn. So previously, when your ally is attacked and receives 50% of the original damage, instantly recovers a turn. We're just adding a heal, recovers the HP of ally by 20%. Right? So you're just healing the ally. So basically you want to defend one of your allies that's going down, and you have a chance to heal them up as they're not receiving any damage. I think that would be fun, right? And you receive a turn instantly afterwards. I still like that buff as well, but I think adding the heal would be nice. Maybe just a 15%, like, you know, Ariel's 3rd skill. I would say that would be better. But overall, an interesting change as well. Water Beast Monk, the 3rd skill of it, attacks all enemies with a spell that summons the power of water with a 60% chance to remove beneficial effects and recovers 25% of the inflicted damage as HP. The damage of this skill. Ooh, so a skill that you gain back your HP by Trick of Water. That would be fun, dude. That would make Water Beast Monk usable for sure. For sure, I would use it. So right now it just has an 80% chance to decrease the target's attack speed. That's lame, but this is 60% chance to remove beneficial effects and recovers 25% of the inflicted damage as HP. That's a cool one. The only thing that I see behind that is that every other Beast Monk on their third skill is doing some sort of harmful effect to all enemies. So there's nothing like this, and this would be something that's out of the ordinary from all other 5. But really, do you need to make them similar? No, not really. There's obviously a change in the water one that needs to be made, and that'd be an interesting change. I think that would make him viable for sure. Next up, we have the all Beast Monks, Crushing Blow. Strikes inflicts damage proportional to your max HP. Changes to strikes inflicts damage proportional to your max HP and attack speed. So the faster you are, the more damage you do. That's cool. Just a little buff for their first turn. Aha! And then the main monster that everybody has been asking about on the previous one, the Vanessa Fire Valkyrie. Seal of Fire. What does that do? What are we doing here, Mr. Foy? Change to attacks an enemy, dealing damage proportionate to the enemy's max HP, and decreases its defense for 2 turns. Revives a random ally with full attack bar and low HP when the enemy is killed. Ooh. So you're adding a revive mechanic to his second skill. Her second skill. If you kill the enemy with your second skill. And then if you kill the enemy with the... Wait. Yes, it's the second skill. Seal of Fire is the second skill. I was going to say, because the first skill still activates Seal of Fire, but then if you kill somebody with Seal of Fire, that would make me want to build an attack damage Vanessa. Now let's see what he has for the revive. So instead of just being a 30% HP, that is the worst revive in the game for the most part. We have skill 3, Warrior's Return. Decreases the chances of receiving a critical hit by 50% and recovers 30% of the damage inflicted to the enemies as HP. Each attack removes a beneficial effect. Hold on. So every attack removes the beneficial effect. So that means first skill and second skill. Decreases the chances of receiving a critical hit by 50%. So himself, it's like the... What's that monster called? The Diaz, right? Diaz. So you decrease your chances of receiving a critical hit by 50%. That would make Vanessa like a really, really good Lucian counter. Because you could build it sort of more attack build and still use it on defense, not get crit, and then also do enough damage to start reviving your enemies with full skills. That would be, that's interesting. Okay, what else is there? Recovers 30% of the damage inflicted to the enemies as HP. So anytime you're dealing damage, you're recovering your own HP. I like that as well. That's like Violent Will all day. Increasing your own HP, that's cool. I think that would be so cool. I like that. That's exciting. I hope you guys like that as well. Leave a like on this video if you like the Vanessa update, because you still have the revive mechanic in there. Revive isn't going away totally. It's just it's changing it to a passive, which a lot of the other, well, 2 of the other Valkyries have passives, so it wouldn't be super out of the ordinary. I like that. I think that's interesting. Good job, Fa. Good job on that one. I like that one. Dark Pioneer, Inhale Magic. So we all know that you summoned Dark Pioneer, but let's take a look. So steals all beneficial effects on all enemies, then steals the HP of all enemies by 20% of your max HP. Instead, previously it was steals HP of all enemies by 15% of your max HP and steals all beneficial effects on all enemies. Steals all beneficial effects on all enemies and steals HP of enemies by 20% of your max HP. Steals... Is it just, it's the same thing reworded backwards, but with 20%, right? So steals all beneficial effects on all enemies, then steals the HP of all enemies by 20%. Steals HP of all enemies by 15% of your max HP, then steals all beneficial effects. So basically what you're doing is instead of using your third skill, and say you just use it into a Chloe, you're trying to steal the HP before removing the beneficial effect. So what Fwa is saying, that we're going to remove the beneficial effect first, and then we're going to take our HP after you don't have any sort of shield, you don't have invincibility, you don't have any sort of buff that's going to stop me from gaining as much HP as I possibly can get from you. You guys see? You guys see? Right? So I think he just had to sneak that in there, and people will be like, well, what's the difference? There's no well, there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference on that third skill there. Because like I said, you would basically be able to go, like say, again, Bastet, for example as well. If you were to use Pioneer into Bastet, you're stealing 20% of the HP, so you're stealing a little bit more, but then you're stealing it all, you would normally be stealing it all into the shield, where this is, you're removing the shield first, and then you're taking the 20%. So that's a lot. I would say even just switching it around and stealing the beneficial effects first, then taking the 15%, that would still even be a good option as well. So anyway, guys, overall, my thoughts on it are, it'd be nice to see some of these change, but mainly I just like showing you guys different options that potentially Comp2Us could be interested in as well. And basically we're just giving them ideas and saying, here you go, here's your ideas on a silver platter. Use them if you'd like, use them as guidelines. Here's other ideas that you guys can think of, but here's problem monsters in the game that we can, we could see some improvements on. A lot of people were saying in my previous patch as well, like, why do I like nerfs? Well, the reason why I like nerfs is because there's a lot less monsters that are way too overpowered and out of the ordinary overpowered than there are monsters that are way too underpowered. So to just get the playing field as balanced as possible, everybody's here. There's a few monsters that are here, and there's a few monsters that are here. So obviously we need to buff the ones that are down here and nerf the ones that are up here to get everybody into one line. And the problem that was happening previously is that you would have monsters up here. Comp2Us would only buff monsters, and you would take these monsters that are down here and you'd throw them up here, and then all these flatline monsters would basically see a nerf. Okay, even though they weren't nerfed themselves, they were nerfed because they brought these monsters all the way up, or they brought monsters that were already on this flat line and brought them up. So everybody else that's here is basically being left behind. So even though there is no change in their specific skills, they were being left behind, such as Vanessa, because we saw the implementation of Water Fairy King. Water Fairy King comes out, and then Vanessa became completely obsolete and irrelevant. Not because Vanessa is really a bad monster, but because there's such a better option for her in the game at that point. So that is why I like to see the nerfs, because if we just take the people from the top and then balance them out to the bottom, then it's also buffing the people that are already at the bottom, because they have a higher chance now of being on an equal playing field. Okay. Anyway, that's the last thing I'm going to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, though. Again, if you like this video, a thumbs up would really be nice, not a thumbs down. It's just a discussion video. That's really all it is. Thank you, Fwa, for making this as well. If you guys want to check out his channel, again, check out the link in the descriptions below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.